He said, "Bury me in the ocean with my ancestors who jumped from ships because they knew that death was better than bondage." Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Before I go any further, spoiler alert, if you haven't watched Black Panther, don't watch this video. Add it to your watch later. Go watch Black Panther like yesterday and then come back and watch this video. Whilst I'm not delving into like the whole storyline too much, I'm not filtering myself either, so you might hear something that you don't necessarily want to hear if you haven't watched the film yet. Okay, just a disclaimer to say that this video is based on a conversation I had last night with Kemi. I've literally woken up early before work to film this video. So shout out to you, Kemi. I'm stealing everything you said in that. Cool. Sorry. I love ya. So Black Panther was such a powerful film. If I had the time, I would talk about the 100 million ways in which it's powerful and necessary and important that we got to see this in our generation. But for this video, I'm just going to focus on 5 things that I think we as women can learn from Black Panther, because it was full of beautiful women, beautiful, strong women. So yeah, let's get into the video. Lesson number 1, being smart / strong and being soft are not exclusive of one another. So when you watch the film, you see that Shuri is into technology, into STEM. She's like the smartest person in the whole of Wakanda, and she's like responsible for most of the technology that's going on there. And then you have Lupita, who's strong, she's smart, she's courageous. And then you have Okoye and all of those women who are just defenders of the king. Guys, defenders of the king. But I think what's important to know is that they also were very soft, so they didn't compromise their femininity, and they didn't like adopt this, what society would say is a masculine approach. They kept their femininity, they kept their softness, they kept their gentleness. They were all very nurturing, but they were very, very strong. And I think it's very important for us to understand, because I think society has taken female characteristics and femininity and made it synonymous with weakness, when actually our qualities, our God-given qualities, are actually supposed to complement our strength, and they are a sign of strength. And I think what's beautiful is the way that they portrayed the women. They weren't afraid, they weren't coward, they weren't like needing anyone to rescue them. They held their own, and yet they did it with such grace and such beauty. And I think that's something that we really can take away. We do not have to be like men to be bosses and to be fighters and to be warriors. We don't, because God has given us everything that we need as women to portray that strength. And I think the sooner we flip this narrative of femininity being weak, the sooner we can get down to business. Lesson number 2, other strong women are not your competition. Oh, don't know if anyone picked up on this, but did you see how all of the women had their own thing going on and none of them were in competition with each other? I think in a lot of films and narratives and movies and stuff, there's always like that one chick who's, you know, side-eyeing this other chick, maybe because she wants his man, or maybe because she's threatened by like her beauty or her strength or whatever. But in this film you see 3, 4, 5, hundreds of strong women who are all doing their own thing, all working together simultaneously, all bringing their strength to the table, and no one was competing with each other. No one was side-eyeing, no one was looking at Nakia saying, "I want your man, like get away." There was none of that. And I love the fact that they portrayed women as we actually are. In reality, we're not catty, we're not these women who are looking at the next girl like, oh, look at her. If you really think about it, in reality, that's how we are. We're just getting on with things. And I think it was so important that was there. One of those women's strength didn't take away from the other. They all had their thing to do, and they all did it together. Lesson number 3, women, we do not have to give up or compromise our calling for anyone. And to clarify, what I mean by that is, I'm not saying don't compromise anything, like it's your way or the highway, but if you know that you absolutely, this is your purpose in life, that you have to do this, that this is what God has assigned you to do, whatever that might be, then you won't have to, or you shouldn't feel like you have to give that up. Example in the film, Nakia, she knew that her calling was to go out and help others that were less fortunate. The same way Okoye she understood her role as the protector of the king and of Wakanda, and though because they both understood what their calling was, they weren't willing to compromise. Although in the film there were times where T'Challa was asking her to come back, and she was like, I know this is where I need to be, so I can't come back. The same way W'Kabi was sort of at one point expecting her to surrender, but she was like, no, because I know. He actually said, would you kill me, my love? And she said, for Wakanda. Yeah, bro. And I think it was so nice to see these women actually understanding their purpose, understanding their calling, and not compromising that. And what you'll actually find is, in the end, the men who were noble, honourable men who loved them and who also understood that that was their calling, in the end had to make allowances for them to fulfil their calling whilst at the same time being their helper. So you see at the end, T'Challa, he says, I found a way that you can do what it is that you have been called to do and still be my queen. And so he opened up, all these places, and she ended up, being part of the outreach projects and stuff like that. And the same way, W'Kabi actually saw that Okoye was right in what she was doing in defending the king, who was rightfully still the king, and in the end dropped his sword and bowed down to her, which then caused the other soldiers to bow down to the other women. Guys, the chills in my body when that scene came, because a man bowing down to a woman, African man bowing down to a woman, which brings me to point number 4. The right man will put aside his pride for you. Oh my gosh, I loved that scene where he bowed down to her. Not because it was a sign of weakness or anyone was bigger than the other. If you notice, no one was like, haha, I told you so, I win, you lose. It was such a beautiful moment, and there was like mutual respect in that moment. But what I saw in that film is that the good men actually put aside their pride, not only for their women but just in general. So you saw, like I said, W'Kabi understanding that, oh, he's in the wrong, so let me drop my sword and let me honor this woman who's doing the right thing. And then you also saw T'Challa, who is the king or about to be king, and he's Black Panther, and he went out of his way, disrupted the mission just so that he could talk to the woman that he loved and ask her to be there to support him as he became king. And I just think it's so important for us to see that in men, especially in black men, because I think there's not even a stereotype. We as humans have a lot of pride, and then if you think about men, they tend to have even more pride, and then think about African men, sometimes they even tend to have more pride. So it was so nice to see, and it reaffirmed this belief that I have, which is, don't settle for a man that has too much pride, because pride is like the cause of a lot of ugly things. And so that film, I think, showed us that there are guys out there that will forego their pride when necessary for you, and that's such an important lesson for me. And last but not least, we are not our stereotypes. This, yes, is geared towards women. I think probably more towards black women. What I loved in this film is that the women were not the stereotypical black woman, because in actual fact we are not the stereotypical black women. There are some women who fall into these brackets that are put on us by stereotypes, but it's just by coincidence, because there's also white women and Asian women and Latino women who fall into this category. But because it's been put on us now, it's almost as if it's a self-fulfilling prophecy in some cases. What I mean by this is that the women were not loud, there was no head rolling, there was no like clapping when they spoke, there was no snapping, there was no attitude and all of these things. Although there was none of these things in the film, I never related to characters as much as I do in this film, which tells me that those stereotypes are crap. The women I saw in Black Panther are the women I see in my life now. In my friendship circle, there's no like, oh my gosh, girl, you better tell him. There's none of that. I think there's too much love and hip hop and basketball wives around that make us think, or make the world think, that black women are these loud, obnoxious women full of attitude who are hard work. But actually, the sooner we can debunk these stereotypes, the sooner we can just move forward and do what it is that we need to do. All in all, I feel like Black Panther displayed the best of us as women and us as black women. It displayed us realistically. I think all young girls can relate to Shuri and her banter and her jokes, while at the same time being about her business. We spoke about the young kids, you know, seeing someone that looks like them on screen, but even us as older women and adults, I think it was important for us to see ourselves on screen too. I was talking to Kemi on the phone about this last night, and she actually said she didn't know that she needed it. She didn't know that she needed to see this, but she did. And she realised that afterwards, and I couldn't agree more. I didn't know that I needed this film, but I really did. And I hope that we can take stuff away from it. And also as men, like, I hope you guys can watch it and just see yourself and see the beautiful sides of you. And if you haven't watched it, then you need to go and watch it. And if you haven't watched it, I don't know why you're watching this video, because I gave away a lot of spoilers. But I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. And let me know your favourite thing about the movie, your favourite line. What was my favourite line? There were too many. I loved when he was like, "Hey auntie." Ah, so Nollywood. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video, guys. Comment down below as usual. Subscribe if you're not. Follow me on the gram at Cornflakes No Sugar. And I will see you in my next video. Bye. I'm gonna do this all the time now.